Hello everyone, I'm Dorina Jopes, the group leader of Virtual Allies team, which consists of 4 students, including me, Dolly, Shanti, Anak, Laent, Alister, Anak, Augsutine, and Grace Prinsiana, Chua. So in this topic, we're going to discuss about virtue theory and environmentalism or shallow ecology view on climate change. Let's get started. For the introduction, climate change is a global ethical issue that has led to serious health crises. Most of its causes come from high-emitting developed nations. However, the impacts are mainly felt by low-emitting and vulnerable regions. This situation raises serious concerns about environmental justice and health inequality. Climate change threatens several important aspects of human health and justice. First, it affects access to clean water. Second, it threatens food security, especially in vulnerable communities. And third, it reduces access to safe living conditions. These impacts show that climate change is not just an environmental issue, but also a serious health and justice concern. This impact leads to serious consequences. Climate change increases the risk of disease outbreaks, causes malnutrition due to food shortages, and forces people to leave their homes. Ultimately, this violates the right to health and human dignity.
Welcome everyone, my name is Dolly Shanti. Today we are moving beyond the scientific data of climate change to discuss its ethical core. We will explore why climate change is fundamentally an issue of environmental justice and how two specific philosophical frameworks, virtue theory and shallow ecology, frame the moral obligations of developed nations. Okay, we start with the justice gap. Currently, the countries doing the most damage are rarely the ones feeling the most pain. While wealthier nations drive emissions, poorer nations navigate the wreckage. This creates a moral imbalance. Our goal today is to look through two philosophical lenses to see why stepping up to help is a requirement of global leadership. First, let's look at virtue theory. Unlike other ethics that focus on checking boxes or following rigid laws, virtue theory focuses on the character of the agent, in this case, the nation. It asks us to define ourselves by our values. If a nation aspires to be a global leader, it must embody the virtues of justice and compassion rather than just following the minimum legal requirement. Under the virtue of justice, it is seen and inherently unfair for one group to suffer to another choices. A just nation takes ownership of its footprint. Compassion takes it a step further. It reminds us that we are not just discussing statistics, we are talking about families losing their homes. A compassionate neighbor does not ignore suffering. They provide the resources to help others find safe ground. Virtue theory also includes practical wisdom. This means being responsible enough to look ahead. Helping vulnerable regions today is not just a nice thing to do, it is the wise thing to do. It prevents the mass conflicts and humanitarian disasters of tomorrow. In this light, climate aid is transformed from an act of charity into a fundamental duty of a responsible leader. From this perspective, climate change is a direct threat to human survival because developed nations have the toolkit, the money, the technology. They have a unique duty to deploy those tools where they are needed most, whether it's improving water system or moving communities to safer ground. The core goal is the same: protecting people. When we bring these two theories together, the conclusion is unavoidable. Helping vulnerable nations is not an optional extra, it is a moral duty. Virtue theory reminds us to be fair, while shallow ecology reminds us that our own well-being is tied to the health of the planet. Both agree in a warming world, funding adaptation is the only ethical way forward.
Hello, good evening. I'm Alister and Augustine, and I'm representing my part for assignment ethics and law for health science professional. And my part is impact analysis, recommendation, and also conclusion. Okay, impact analysis. Climate change affect vulnerable population. Developing countries emit less but suffer more. Severe health and environmental impacts. Race justice and inequality concerns. Health impact, water and diseases. Reduce access to clean water. Drought causes water shortage. Floods contaminate water source. Waterborne diseases like cholera, typhoid, and diarrhea, and also AGE, and etc. Health impact on food and nutrition. Extreme weather reduce crop production. Food shortage and will cause higher price. And also increase malnutrition and weaken immune system in child below age of 5. Displacement and mental health. Climate disaster, forced displacement, overcrowded places in unsafe resettlement areas will limit healthcare access and also will increase mental health disease like anxiety, depression, trauma, bipolar disorder, and many more. And also, it violates SDG like SDG 2, Zero Hunger, SDG 3, Good Health and Well-being, SDG 6, Clean Water Sanitation, SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, and SDG 13, Climate Action. SDG is Sustainable Development Goal. Okay. Recommendation for B2 theory, moral responsibility of developed nations, act with compassion, responsibility, and fairness, fund climate adaptation program, and support vulnerable populations. Recommendation for environmentalism, protect the environment to protect people, invest in integrated water resource management, sustainable agriculture, and climate resilient infrastructure. Resettlement and justice. Some areas are no longer safe to live in, and the resettlement must be fair and planned. Ensure dignity and human rights, access to clean water, healthcare, and basic services.
For the policy limits in climate change, for the duty theory and moral responsibility, high emitting nations are the primary contributors to climate change. From the perspective of duty theory, moral obligation must be fulfilled regardless of outcomes. Therefore, these nations have a responsibility to address the impacts they have caused. The principle of justice further emphasizes that the burden should not be placed on the least responsible and most vulnerable populations. The limits of adaptation may include exceed local carrying capacity and increase environmental degradation, whereas the risk can cause worsening health outcomes and it can cause long-term sustainability loss. However, the ethical challenge, it can be helped out without causing further harm. Resettlement and rehabilitation aim to protect population from immediate climate threats. However, these efforts raise ethical concern. These include overcrowding, disruption of cultural and social structures, and increased pressure on host communities. For health and social risks of resettlement include inadequate sanitation, increased disease transmission, social conflict, and strain on healthcare system. Linking justice, duty, and sustainability means our moral obligations must respect ecological boundaries and follow scientific evidence. Our duty goes beyond just funding, it includes responsible planning and ensuring long term sustainability. The ultimate goal is to prevent future injustice and health inequities.
For conclusion, climate change is an environmental injustice, virtue theory, moral duty to act. Environmentalism, the environment support life. Justice require global cooperation. Thank you. That's all from me. Bye.
To complete this assignment, we have used the references as listed. Thank you.